Angela Jide Jones. And you have 30 minutes. Once the moderator takes up the microphone, you start counting 30 minutes. Once she sits down, 30 minutes. Head of service, please, if head of service is around, please let him know that his session has started. No, really. The microphones, do you have a microphone? Go on.
Good
Go
morning,
on,
everybody. Good morning.
It's afternoon already.
Sorry, good afternoon. Yeah, sorry. Good afternoon, our panelists. It's afternoon already. Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, our dear panelists. Do we have anybody else we're waiting for? Are we correct? I just want to be sure. Head of service, please. We need our head of service, Mr. Reginald Bayoko. Yes, I know he's here, but he's on the panel. Yes. Okay, the head of service, the PS, is the PAMSEC head of service here, please? SSG, can the PS head of service sit in for the head of service? I know he's around because we had the discussion on this. Yeah, the head of service. This is a very important panel, and so we will take as much time as we need to take to ensure that all the issues are covered. Yes, yes, okay. Mr. Moderator, we will take as much as possible to cover all the issues. SSG, yes, I know. Do we have your permission, sir? SSG, do you have your permission, sir, to... SSG, you have your permission because this panel is very crucial for today. So we will cover what we need to cover as much as possible. So because the moderator gave us 30 minutes, we may need to do about 45 minutes. So I wanted to take your permission. All right, thank you. Head of service, thank you so much for coming. Senior policy advisor, thank you so much, sir. Mr. Amechi, Special Advisor on Investments, thank you so much. Honorable Solomon Igakwata, the Chairman of the Board of Internal Revenue, thank you so much for coming. Honorable Commissioner for Agriculture, Mr. Omo, thank you so much for coming. Good to have you with us. So, straight to the questions for today. I will start with the Chairman of the Board of Internal Revenue. I want you to tell us, what was your first reaction when you were appointed, especially in relation to the third agenda, which has to do with realistic reforms? When you were appointed by His Excellency, what was your first reaction?
My first reaction I was happy, I was excited. But immediately after the inauguration, it dawned on me that I have so much commitments, so much responsibility ahead of me. And having been a member of the board before, I know I had a lot of tasks ahead of me to do. And it was clear from the beginning, His Excellency's mandate to us was to go there and ensure that we show up the revenue of the state, working within the ambits of the law. So that was exactly how I felt, and I was positioned for it because I was happy that I was going back to a place where I worked before, from 2015 to 2018. But now I'm going back there as an executive chairman of the board. And of course, we're required to do things differently if we must achieve the required results. Thank you.
Thank you. In fact, I remember when you were a member of the board then, in a non-executive capacity. And when I saw you now, I actually feel the tempo. Way different from where I saw you then, when you were just a member of the board. Very different. Okay, so let's go to our Honorable Commissioner for Agric. Tell us what your first reaction was when you were appointed by His Excellency, particularly with reference to his third agenda, which has to do with realistic reforms.
Thank you very much, Madam Angela. I think my first reaction was the fact that I actually didn't lobby. I didn't speak to anyone, dead or alive, but I've been made a commissioner, so it was a mixed feeling. When my name was announced, I had to first of all shut down my phone. I went to the altar of God, laid down to thank God. Then the mixed feeling, the other limb of it, was it's a call to service and what's going to be the mark or legacy that I'll leave when I'm leaving this office, working in tandem with the governor's vision. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much. So let's also hear from Special Advisor on Investments, Mr. Amechi. Tell us what your first reaction was. And also, if you can also tailor it to the governor's third agenda, realistic reforms. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It came to me as a very big shock, as a matter of fact. I was actually far away in the UK. So when I got calls, congratulations and all of that, so I didn't believe it until the deputy governor called me to congratulate me. And I was like, what's going on? You've been nominated as a special advisor. Then I think I was happy because it comes with responsibility and then a very huge opportunity for me to contribute to the growth of my state. So it's something that I welcome wholeheartedly. And then from then on, I started working even before I was inaugurated. So it's a good thing for me because I like to give what I have.
And it's also key to his agenda, investments.
That's correct.
This realistic reforms we're talking about. Investments,
Exactly.
as you can see what has been done, the whole of yesterday. Bringing investment to the states is very key. And you need to be ready for that challenge. So there must be a clear difference.
Yeah,
Huge impact, actually.
I'm very, very passionate about this. So
Okay.
those working with me can tell you that exactly. For me, it's personal, you know, contributing my quota, getting the right investment, you know, to drive, to take up the IHR of the state is something that I take to heart.
Okay, so let's also hear from Henry Commissioner for Economic Planning. Please, sir, let's hear from you, Mr. Sonny.
Yeah, thank you, Mrs. Moderator. My first reaction was that of happiness. I also felt privileged. And shortly after that, I became overwhelmed with the thought of the kind of responsibility that I would most likely be saddled with. This is coming from the point of view of my relationship with His Excellency. And I know I'm his kind of person. and the weight of responsibility and expectation, will have of me. So immediately, I started thinking of what are those little differences I can bring to his team so that at the end of it all, he'll come out looking good. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I must say that your ministry is very strategic. The Honorable Commissioner for Budget and Planning, immediate past for Lagos State, you can, when he came to tell us about his experience, you can see the role he played. It's very crucial. So you need to be really prepared, and all you need to do to make you succeed, the people you need to work with, look at what has happened in the past and see other states as well, and just prepare yourself. With God helping us, we will deliver on the more agenda. Thank you. So let us hear now from policy advisor, senior policy advisor, sir. Let's hear from you. What was your reaction when His Excellency appointed you? And also looking at realistic reforms, because you are in charge of policy, particularly the third agenda. In relation to that, what do you have to say?
Thank you, moderator. First and foremost, maybe you will know that I was director of campaigns and campaign to every nook and crannies of the state with him, without him, and for him. And so it is necessary that I build what we campaign for with him. So to me, it's a fitting role to contribute my add value and work in such a manner that, because campaign itself is selling a product, we sold to Deltans that our best product was Elder Sheriff Oberewood as governor. And having sold the product, we have a duty to work with the product, to actualize the promise.
So you want to walk the talk. All right, thank you so much. Head of service, you've been on a panel before. Yesterday you were on a panel. So let's hear from you from a different perspective in relation to the realistic reforms. You've already told us you've been head of service actually, isn't it? I guess you was head of service 10 years. So tell us what, in terms of realistic reforms, just make a comment regarding the third agenda, what you see your role as regarding the third agenda. Realistic reforms, that's the governor's third agenda.
Oh, okay.
So, the reason is that you're wearing a hat now as head of service. So in relation to that third agenda, what is your reaction? What do you think about it? And how do you see your feet in it? Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much, Madam Moderator. Let me just tender my apology that when you called me and I wasn't actually here. No excuses. I apologize for that wholeheartedly.
No excuses, so.
But let me just look at it from this perspective, and in terms of the more agenda, where it affects the public service, the civil service, is service delivery fundamentally. And it was very clear. There are very clear roadmaps in that regard. And I took time to look at it, and pardon me, on a lighter mood, when I came in yesterday, and I'm still here today, I came with 3 copies of the BOA agenda, physical copies, and I also had the soft copy, and I also had one in my brain as well. But I didn't bring them up to stage so that I won't be categorized as those in the Bible say, oh, this man bring big Bible, bring whatever. They follow this thing when Bible they preach. So I kept them aside. But fundamentally, where it affects the civil service, public service as a larger scope, is service delivery. Now, what are we looking at in service delivery? Which is what I was trying to explain yesterday. But first, let's look at what service delivery is. At the heart of service delivery is delivering on the agenda of the government, legitimately elected by the people. And this government is more. And part of it is realistic reforms. Now, if we want to take that step from our own perspective, what do you expect from us as public servants? It means that, first, we need to key into the objective of the government of the day. And in keying in, we need to understand it totally without any room for doubt. And part of doing that, as far as I'm concerned, and I'm sure we'll try to step down the line, is communication, open communication. And part of the process too, because I won't be able to expand because of lack of time, is also training that we're having here. And I'm glad that we're, as the organizers, with the governor's direction and office of head of secretary to state government implementing, you understood the need to incorporate the permanent secretaries and the directors. And when we leave here, we will try our best to set that thing down the line. But what is important is, first, we must key into the agenda of the government. We must understand what the government is trying to do for the persons, for the people, citizens, and we must, in our own best way, ensure that that set agenda is delivered by delivering our best in that respect.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank
So
you.
I'll come to the other panelists. Thank you so much, sir. So let's come to the other panelists. Now, I'm going to ask you the right question. How do you envision your realistic reforms in your sphere of responsibility? How do you envision it? Let's start with the Hereditary Commissioner for Agric. So realistic reforms, how do you envision it
Well, thank you very
in
much.
the Ministry
Angela.
of Agric?
Now, there are basic lines that need deliberate and very urgent reforms in the agricultural subsector to work in tandem with realistic reforms. First, we have on paper that in Delta State, we have about 18,000 square meters of land, and of which 70% of this total land mass is arable. In other words, dedicated to agricultural activities. Then you will agree with me that for this subsector to thrive, we must look at it from three broad perspectives, which is first, the smallholders farmers, two, the large-scale farmers, and then three, the government intervention and participation, which has to do with public-private sector driven. So, but then again, all agricultural activities must be on land. This land we have mentioned in the print, do we have access to this land? It's a fundamental question that needs to be looked into. Many years ago, during the Midwestern region, when we were in Bender State, various administrations, took bold steps to have farm settlements. The essence of this farm settlement were, tailored alongside the Israeli agricultural pattern, as it were. But then again, it was run strictly by government, and you understand that government may have the wherewithal to run almost everything, but sustaining it becomes a challenge, as it were. So these farm settlements have either been abandoned because from transition to transition, there is no roadmap that is kept in sight whilst these activities were run. So communities and original owners of this land, they are coming back to take government land. Whereas by the Land Use Act and the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, it is government that has powers to take land from individuals. But here, reverse is the case. So we need to look at that. And it's a cross-cutting activity between the Ministry of Lands, the Ministry of Agriculture, and of course, Ministry of Justice. Then we also need a reform that will tailor and keep a template for acquisition of agricultural land, so that we'll have these lands protected and engage the right public-private sector. So we'll be able to improve on food sufficiency and food security. So that's the number one area to reform, and it has to do, like what Chemito Bello was talking about yesterday. We have a very fertile land. If you go to Imbiri Farm Settlement, a tuber of cassava, but then, are we taking advantage of that very fertile land? So, we need some reforms and a new legislation on how agricultural land can be acquired and preserved. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. It's good you mentioned that. In fact, when he was talking about the Midwestern pattern, looking at the tailored towards the Israeli strategy, the Israeli model, I remember very well then Okomu Oil Palm Now is one of those that came up, you know, by the Ogbemudia government then, the Midwest, and they set up the Okomu Oil Palm. Today, you know, it's now a private company, and it's doing so well in the stock market. So that was when they started setting up those farmlands. That's the one that succeeded, but because the private people came and took it over, that's why it's still in existence today. And that's the oil we